Actor, model and popular television personality Shefali Jariwala has sadly passed away at the age of 42. The sudden death of the Kaanta Laga Girl, as she is now remembered, has sent shockwaves through the country and the entertainment industry. Shefali is survived by her husband, actor Parag Tyagi, sibling Shivani Jariwala and her parents. Several luminaries from the country's entertainment industry have offered their condolences on social media. Shefali's death has sparked a digital frenzy also amongst her fans and followers, even as the Mumbai Police continue their investigation into the death. Shefali had a history of medical issues. In particular, she struggled a lot with epilepsy. She had spoken out about her seizures in interviews and recently even stated that she had been seizure-free for almost 15 years, having learned to manage her symptoms and condition naturally. She's also been a vocal proponent of treatment for mental conditions like depression and anxiety. She'd also opened up about her battles with these frequently. Well, Shefali, of course, it seems prima facie had a cardiac arrest. Why is this happening to people at such a young age? That's something we will talk about with our panelists who are joining us live on the broadcast. We have Tehseen Poonawala, political analyst, live with us. Dr. Kapil Kakkar, psychologist, is joining us live. Dr. Monik Mehta, senior consultant, cardiologist, Manipal Hospital, Gurugram, is live with us. Also with us is Dr. P.S.V. Rao, consultant surgeon, Manipal Hospital, Hebal, Bengaluru. Let me make a start with you first, Dr. Kakkar. This is a very sad news coming in, of course, of this actress's demise at such a young age. What do you make of Shefali Jariwala's sudden demise?
Hello.
No, it is extremely unfortunate. A young girl who was always seen as somebody who was enjoying life, who was fit, who was striving towards a very good career, passes away like this. Now, there can be several reasons pertaining to it, but as far as her lifestyle, which we were to look at it, it looked to be quite good. She seemed to be physically quite fit, except for the things that which you have just mentioned, the seizures and the anxiety and the depression issues she must have had in the past. Now, normally in such circumstances today, I will not talk about specifically about her, but this may be an indication towards what is leading us to this life, is when there is intense ambition, there is high competitive drive, there is sense of urgency, there is a constant preoccupation. It has been seen that these traits also lead to heart risk. Though there has not been any conclusive correlation between the two, but yes, as indicators, it's been quite clear that in the life that we live in today, when there's a lot of anxiety, when there's a lot of pressure, we have timelines and deadlines, to prove ourselves with, is when people get so overwhelmed with work that they forget that there is a life outside it. And that is primarily the reason when your body is unable to take. See, as we grow older, as we age, we still are thinking in our head that we might be just 25, 30-year-old. We tend to compare ourselves psychologically that what I was able to do at 30, why not at 40 or why not at 50? And I think that is where we need to kind of mature and kind of reconcile with our age, make our mind, head understand that life is progressing, life is progressive, and as we mature, our body, the kind of work that we expect to kind of deliver may not be the same. So that is something when we are competing with people of different age group, we start behaving like them. We think that our body is standing with us, but it is not all the time. And that is psychologically also what happens is if our body is not being with us because of the age, we tend to push ourselves more. We want to prove ourselves to the outside world. We want to prove ourselves to us because psychologically at times people would say, well, I cannot resign, I cannot lose. So it is important that we all need to understand life needs to go with that age. Your body can take, your body has a limit, it can endure and it can take to an extent, and we need to appreciate that rather than pushing our mind. See, because anxiety has a lot of role to play in this. And normally there is a trait anxiety. The trait anxiety is when we have preconceived ideas, or when we have various anxieties about various situations which might compel us to behave in a certain manner, and that is where the societal pressure also grows up. And all these things would lead to either our brain or to our heart, and both of them are vulnerable to this kind of traits and behavior.
Now, you are, of course, a psychologist as well, Dr. Kakkar. Shefali Jariwala had also spoken about, her struggle with anxiety, depression, but had said that, this is something that can be overcome if we take help, and if, of course, we counter it effectively. And she had done that. She also spoke, in fact, about how she had been seizure-free as well for the last 15 years.
Certainly. See, the most important thing, the word that you used is effectively. Now, the question is, are we not pushing ourselves? Because what is the definition? One is there is a coping up mechanism, there is an anxiety, the person is suffering with depression, and the person gets his or her life back to normal. Till that, it is okay. But when a person starts pushing oneself further and further away, thinking that if I have been able to successfully cope up with my depression or my anxiety, I can take this to another level of being someone who can do something extraordinary vis-a-vis my age, my mental condition, etc. I think that is at times taking too far. And because of this competitive world that we are living in fact, in case we don't want to, our work will push us to that extent. Our own ambition would push up to that extent. Proving our point to somebody else would push us to that extent. And I think that needs to be avoided, because these are the things which will lead you to either anxiety or depression. When you are unsuccessful, they will lead you to depression. And when somebody becomes successful, then the next step, the next step, and the next step would inevitably bring that person face to face with anxiety, where the anxiousness takes over because one starts demanding too much from himself or herself.
Dr. Maulik Mehta, let me also draw you in here, Dr. Mehta. Cardiac arrest at such a young age, what do you believe could have led to it? What do you make of Shefali Jariwala's sudden passing away last night?
Yes, it's a very sad moment that we are again talking about this occurrence. Now, premature coronary artery disease is actually becoming a pandemic in our country. We are seeing especially in Asia and in our country, at least the incidence is increasing. We are seeing a more aggressive form of this coronary artery disease. And for us, technically, the age is anything less than 40 years is considered as coronary artery disease or heart attacks in the young. Now, we are seeing a more virulent form of this. It's happening much earlier as compared to the Western world, where it is happening much later after 70. So, in fact, out there it is only about 20%. But here we are seeing nearly 50% increase in the incidence of coronary artery disease in young. Secondly, what is happening is, the progression is very rapid, and we are seeing increasing mortality. So this is a very somber moment. My condolences to Shefali's family and her loved ones. But we should reflect at this stage and ponder what are we doing to ourselves, and what we can do to society as a whole to stop this scourge. Now, at this stage, I would just like to recap the issue at hand and why is it happening. Firstly, we should not forget our traditional risk factors. The traditional risk factors are becoming increasingly important, and the traditional risk factors they are all known to us. But I still would like to reiterate: smoking, which doubles the risk of heart disease by eight times. Diabetes makes it very aggressive. Obesity triples the risk of heart disease, and hypertension. In fact, these diseases generally are undetected in the young. That is another big issue. So, for example, diabetes and hypertension are usually missed out in the young people. So these are the traditional risk factors which we should not forget. In addition, there are these newer risk factors, or what we call as emerging risk factors or societal factors. As Dr. Kakkar has mentioned, stress, anxiety, peer pressures, and societal pressures. Then we have undergone the COVID pandemic, and there have been instances of post-COVID complications which increase this. Then also important is recreational drugs that is increasingly being used, like cocaine and amphetamines. they actually increase the incidence of heart disease. This is because there is vasospasm and the blockages that when we do the angiography, we find that generally these blockages are single blockages. They are not like in elderly, we find a lot of hard blockages. So these are soft blockages. There are soft cholesterol deposits or fat deposits. And whenever there is some stress or anxiety or unaccustomed exertion, these soft blockages, they tend to rupture. And that is why we are seeing these increased instances of heart disease in young. We should not forget that there are also some diseases which are very common. For example, congenital heart disease or hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. But those are there which are in the background and which have always been there, and they happen all over the world. But in India, this is the scourge that we are facing with, and we should all get together and address it. So that's I would like to say at the outset.
Yes. Also, of course, let me ask you about the post-mortem now. Reportedly, the post-mortem was underway at Cooper Hospital today. I think it's just come to an end now. Now her mortal remains are being taken to her residence as we speak. I think her residence was in Andheri because that's where the hospital was, where she was taken first last night, Bellevue Hospital, where she was declared brought dead by her husband Parag Tyagi, who's also an actor, and his friends. Let me ask you, Dr. Mehta, what is the procedure normally when a patient is brought to hospital in this non-responsive condition, and what happens then next?
So before I go to next, there's a very important thing that I need to speak at this stage. What should be done while the patient is having the arrest, and that is what we call as CPR or cardiopulmonary resuscitation. In fact, the recommendation or the thought process should be that wherever the person is having the arrest, that is the hospital. That is the very place where the CPR should be instituted and started immediately. By the time the patient is brought to the hospital, we have lost the battle. Those few minutes are golden moments. So CPR is one thing which the whole society, we should know, and everybody should. It's not a medical technique, everybody should know. So that is what we could, that is one of the, should be the take-home messages, that CPR should be known to everybody. You never know if somebody had done CPR, the chain of events could have been different. Now let's come to sudden deaths in younger people. I would not like to state at this stage what would be the outcome of the post-mortem. But generally what we see is in young people, we see solitary
yes,
blockages.
I'll come back to that, but just tell us about the procedure, because we are seeing these visuals, Dr. Mehta. I think the post-mortem has just been conducted. How long does it normally take for a post-mortem? What is the procedure? Please tell us. When a patient is brought to hospital and they are declared brought dead.
So the procedure is the patient is brought to the emergency. Once the patient has been declared brought dead, it's generally a medical legal case because we do not know the antecedents. So it's so the intimation is given to the official authorities. From our side, we shift the patient to the mortuary, and thereafter the patient is sent to the and it's basically sent to the police authorities, and then they take over, and then the postmortem is done, and thereafter usually the body is handed over to the relatives.
Right. Let me in fact also now get in Tehseen Poonawala, political analyst and former Bigg Boss 13 contestant, who is also live with us. Tehseen, a very sad day, of course, for friends, family, admirers of Shefali Jariwala. We're seeing visuals on our screen currently of her mortal remains, which have just been taken from the Cooper Hospital, are being taken to her residence. The final journey of Shefali Jariwala underway there in Mumbai. How shocked were you when you got this news, Tehseen, about Shefali's tragic passing away?
Uday, thank you so much for having me in the show. I was flabbergasted. I heard this last night about 11:45, 11:50, some rumors, but around 12:31 in the morning it was confirmed. And yeah, I was completely flabbergasted. I was shocked. And you go through a lot of pain because Shefali and I entered Bigg Boss together on the same day. We entered together, and we were partners in some tasks together. And I was friends with three people in the house, Shefali, Siddharth, and me. The three of us were friends. She knew Siddharth from before. And the thing is, both of them passed away with a heart attack and or a cardiac arrest or whatever that report comes. So the point is that it is extremely shocking. But, you know, I want to focus on something bigger. We often speak about celebrities or people who are known in the media, and then we get into this topic. But the issue is that India is the heart attack capital of the world. 50% of the cardiac arrests across the world happen in India, and 50% of those cardiac arrests are in people below the age of 40. This is terrible, and there are a lot of reasons for this. Of course, one of the reasons is the pollution, which is extremely high. Second is the kind of diet Indian food has, which is a lot of carbohydrate heavy diet. Now we see trans fat in the diet. Third is the kind of pressure people have across the nation in various fields, including in the glamour field. I think this is something that the government of India needs to address very, very seriously. The Prime Minister needs to chair a meeting with all the health ministers, because we are in a pandemic of heart attack and cardiac arrest. And the problem is that we don't deal with this extremely seriously. Somebody like me who eats one meal a day, who works out a lot, who is on a high protein, low carb, zero fat diet, zero trans fat diet. I don't do sugar. Somebody like me, when I go out in North India, particularly in Delhi, etc., I'm smoking 10 cigarettes a day when I don't even take a cold drink. I don't even do Diet Coke or something because of the kind of pollution, and it's unfair to me. So this is what we need to deal with. Apart from this, we need to have a conversation on our mental health, which is very important. Another thing that we need to focus on is the way, and I'm saying this not for you in particular, but media in general. Media glamorizes people who look a certain way. A friend of mine who took Ozempic, he's an actor, he's quite known. He took Ozempic. The media glamorizes him, he's looking so good, he's carrying brands. But these are serious diabetic drugs. You're taking it, you're now the diabetic capital of the world, you're now the heart attack capital of the world. And these people are being glamorized, which is so wrong. So this kind of thing needs to stop, and the government needs to have regulations for this. You also need regulation. Look at Instagram, all these fitness influencers. They don't know, we've Dr. Rao here, Dr. Mehta here, Dr. Kekar here. These are professionals. I mean, and you have these jokers on Instagram who don't know a single thing about fitness. They make these reels, they get millions of views, they're misguiding the youngsters. How are we going to deal with it? This is a pandemic we are living in.
And it needs to be dealt with scientifically, as you're saying. Now, Shefali also was someone who had spoken about her medical illnesses. Often we have celebrities who shy away from speaking out, but Shefali Jariwala had spoken out about that, Tehseen. That also is, very creditable to her. She had spoken out about dealing with epilepsy, saying that that's the reason why she didn't take as many songs as perhaps she got offers after that first famous hit of hers, Kaanta Laga, in 2002, because she was having these epileptic fits. She also spoke about, dealing with anxiety and, depression. And she also said how she combated all of these scientifically, medically, and naturally.
Yeah. So this is something that she's spoken about. She spoke about it even during her journey in Bigg Boss and otherwise after that. And I think it is something that we need to understand because, of course, her medical condition could be a precursor to a heart condition. I'm not an expert. I won't speculate on that. But the other things, we do have a problem of mental health. Health is not just physical. Mental and spiritual health is extremely important. And somewhere down the line, we have CEOs who say you have to work 70 hours a day and not stare at your wife. And that is laughed upon. It's not frowned upon. You should be frowning upon such CEOs. We have people who say, look, you have to work 20 hours, sleep. We sleep only 2-3 hours. Sleep is extremely essential, 6 to 7 hours of good sleep for a good lifestyle. But that is glamorized. Oh, he's only sleeps for 2-3 hours. That is not good. As a nation, we have a vitamin D, vitamin B complex deficiency. We don't talk about it. Again, there is so much of politics over food that poor people don't get the same kind of proteins that somebody who's privileged like me get. For example, people will say, oh, Virat Kohli is vegan. Why can't we be vegan? Because Virat Kohli has an entire team to back him up. We may not have that. So things like this to discuss proteins, not discuss. And that is the problem. Mental health, scientific diet, nutrition, these are things that we don't discuss as a nation. What we do is glamorize people who suddenly lost weight, who are carrying brands. And that sometimes can lead to pressure in the rat race that you have to look a certain way, behave a certain way. And you may look fantastic, but you may be completely empty from inside. I mean, you know about Ozempic.
Absolutely.
You know about Ozempic. You know everyone in Delhi is on Ozempic. The government knows everyone on Delhi is on Ozempic. Yet nobody is doing it. It shouldn't be available over the counter. Yet if you go over the counter, it will be given to you. And the government knows it and they won't do anything about it.
Yes, Tehseen, you said a very important thing earlier that we are in a health emergency currently. Now, this is very frightening when you see individuals like Shefali Jariwala. She was extremely fit as well. One of the doctors was just saying that on the show. She was obviously physically pretty fit. Siddharth Shukla also. He used to be constantly putting out gym videos. He was also very fit. when individuals like this have these young heart attacks, it's pretty frightening, Tehseen.
It is, but see, in both these cases, it could be different reason. It could be genetics. It could be some other reason. In case of Shefali, it could be her mental health prior to her Kaanta Laga video, the problems she went through. So there are different reasons, but genetics is a massive factor coupled with pollution and other things. And then whatever could be the individual factors that are combining. But one thing I would really request through you, why aren't we investigating the COVID vaccines? I mean, a lot of these cases have increased after COVID. We are seeing these videos everywhere. I'm not creating a fear mongering. I'm not saying that these vaccines are bad. I'm just saying, can't there be a transparent investigation and data given to us? Because I understand that this was data that was put out to some extent. It was even put out with Lancet, etc., which are reputed medical journals. But at the end of the day, what are the long-term effects? Have we got it? What are the other effects of COVID itself? Can we have those report in public domain so we can discuss it? Because I am not an anti-vaxxer. I am pro-science, pro-vaccine. But I don't want to be poking vaccines in my body if I don't know what it has. And I think we should have these debates.
Before we let you go, and we are seeing visuals on our screen now of the final journey of Shefali Jariwala. That's the family on our screens. I think that's Shefali's sister there, who we can see, who's of course instructing the people where to put the flowers, and also of course that stretcher which will have her mortal remains on it. We can also see singer Sunidhi Chauhan, who is a friend of Shefali, on our screens there. These are visuals, live visuals coming in from Mumbai. How would you, Tehseen, like to remember Shefali Jariwala? When did you last meet her? What was the conversation you had with her? How would you like to remember her?
I met her husband and her last at Ekta Kapoor's dinner. Ekta Kapoor is a friend of mine, and she hosted a dinner in Mumbai, and I was there. And I met her, and we spoke, and we had a long conversation at that point. I was laughing. We were laughing about something she had taught me in Bigg Boss. So when I went to Bigg Boss, I didn't know how to do all the tasks. So she taught me how to wash the utensils. So we were laughing about that at that time that she taught me. And I said, "You're the girl who taught me bartan kaise dhona hai." So we were laughing about that. And it was a great conversation. I was with other friends. She was with her husband and other friends. So we spoke, we hung out for a bit. But, the end of, I just want to remember her as a great girl. We went in together. We had some fun times together. And I just send all my love and condolences to her loved ones, to her family members and her friends. And I know that this is a terrible time, and I hope that they have the strength to get through this terrible time. But I hope that through this we can have awareness about cardio issues and cardio diseases that next India.
But quite eerie, you just said that your friends on Bigg Boss were Shefali Jariwala and Siddharth Shukla. Both of them are no more from the same season. Eerie.
Yeah, Siddharth was my closest friend. He was somebody who was very passionate, and Siddharth had surprised me because Siddharth's knowledge of current affairs, because you don't generally think actors or people in the glamour field would know so much about current affairs or politics. His knowledge about current affairs, about finance, about economy was stunning. He was so well tuned. In fact, the reason I used to get yelled at Bigg Boss is because he and I would gossip about the outside world. So he was so good with that. And to see somebody like him pass away and Shefali pass away is stunning. And then you need to ask the question, what really is fitness? I think that is something that we really need to stop and ask ourselves.
Well, I'm going to ask our medical experts that, Tehseen. Thank you for joining us on the broadcast with your tributes for Shefali Jariwala. Dr. Rao, come in there on this shock demise of Shefali at such a young age, and what conversations we really need to have after this incident of another young individual who seemed to be very fit, tragically succumbing to cardiac arrest prima facie.
Good evening to you and to panelists and viewers. We have had a large number of young people having sudden deaths, especially after the COVID pandemic. And though most of them are not celebrities, and hence we don't come to know about it. And we know that we Indians genetically have smaller coronary vessels that feed the heart, blood to the heart. We also know that we are more prone to, because of our diet, the present diet. I mean, remember that much of India was on a low calorie high fiber diet previously, before the green revolution and before the white revolution, especially the white revolution. And the fact that now the diet is very different. I have been 46 years in the Department of Surgery. When I joined the Department of Surgery, the average weight of my patients was 40 to 45 kgs. Now I don't see a person who is less than 80 kgs. So I am now talking about the other aspect of it. I have frequently been writing about all this in the Sunday Guardian, and tomorrow there will be an article on nutrients also. You see, what we have now is the genetic problem. Added to that, that is the small finer coronary acids. Added to it is the change in diet. Third is the change in stress levels, especially after the social media has come in, which is really adding to the stress levels. In addition to the competition, remember in the past, jobs weren't changing. The technology wasn't changing so fast. Now the technology changes so fast that you have to keep relearning all the time. It brings a lot more stress, and people keep losing their jobs if they don't reinvent themselves. So the stress causes release of stress hormones, which also has an adverse effect on the heart, which will have to pump more blood.
Dr. Rao, I'll just hold you for a second there. Very somber visuals coming in now from Mumbai. This is the final journey of actress Shefali Jariwala. There, her mortal remains have just reached her family, her friends, breaking down, as we can see in these emotional visuals. She was too young to go, just 42, a self-made star. Of course, started out in music videos, then of course did OTT project and television. Of course, was very popular on the reality show Bigg Boss. Very sad visuals coming in. This is the final journey of Shefali Jariwala on our screens now. Her body, of course, was released after the post-mortem. The mortal remains currently on your screens. Her loved ones, other friends from the industry, and of course her family are present there. Very emotional, of course, because this has happened all of a sudden last night in Mumbai. Dr. Rao.
So what I was saying was that in addition to the past genetic things that we have inherited, we have had change in diet, we have had change in lifestyle, we have change in lifestyle means that we are hardly doing any exercise, we are spending a sedentary lifestyle, we have a change in diet, and most important, we have also other factors which are causing inflammation in the blood vessels, which includes the COVID infection and various chemicals that we are exposed to in the food, in the air, including the air pollution. Now, in addition to all this, what happens when you have inflammation in the body is the blood vessels get inflamed. In addition to heart attacks, you can have sudden death due to brainstem stroke. And
we need to now talk about prevention as well, because there are a lot of youngsters watching this who are obviously shocked, disturbed, frightened. What about prevention now? Dr. Rao and Dr. Mehta, let's talk about prevention for a second, even as we continue to show our visuals, show our viewers these live visuals coming in of the final journey of Shefali Jariwala.
Yes, we should take this occasion to reiterate what we need to do immediately. So we have immediate issues which actions we can take, and then there are the long-term issues. Immediately is top priority is preventive care and prevention. And prevention is number one is to tackle all our traditional risk factors, doubly work on them, and reduce them as much as possible. We should, from a society perspective, if there is somebody does have a cardiac arrest, we should know cardiac CPR. And I reiterate, this is one thing which can change, which can save lives. And nowadays, we talk post-COVID, we are talking about chest compression only CPR. This is a lifesaver, and anybody can do it. It needs only 1 hour of training, and you will be able to save a life. Especially in young people who have got who don't have severe multiple blockages. It'll be a solitary blockage, or it'll be a plaque rupture, or there may be maybe only VTVF. If you do CPR, we will save in fact, the tragedy is that we see so many videos, young people collapsing, and we see the onlookers are for the next 1 or 2 minutes are just moving around, and it's such a sad state. If somebody has started CPR there and then, we can save a significant percentage. This is what I think should be the take-home message. Preventive care, get rid of our traditional risk factors, go for preventive health screenings, go to your clinic, go to your doctor, and CPRs. This should be the mantra, and in fact, the home should be considered as a hospital. The take-home message should be that we should not think about rushing the person to the hospital. Where the person has the cardiac arrest, that is the place to start cardiopulmonary resuscitation, and we should spread the message of CPR everywhere. Nowadays, we are having the facilities of defibrillators, which are available in the public areas like airports, malls, and all. So, public access defibrillators should be spread everywhere, especially in big cities like Mumbai and Delhi. We are finding in all especially in the police chowkis, in hospitals they are there, but in malls, in airports, where there's a big congregation of people, especially in big corporates, there should be public access defibrillators mandatorily in
Dr. Rao,
in
Dr.
any
Rao,
of these
Dr. Rao,
cases.
Dr. Rao, your take on prevention.
Yes, prevention, all the risk factors, we have to first of all create awareness. There are too many things which are advertised or pushed by social media which are harmful to health. We have to now counter that narrative and make people realize that drugs, smoking, alcohol, all these can contribute to worsening health. Second, eating junk food. Get them to understand what healthy food is and how important it is to do it. Third, make them realize that they have to regularly exercise all parts of the body and not live in a sedentary lifestyle. Health is not something that you suddenly become aware of. It's something, a lifelong effort to keep and maintain health. And people should realize health is wealth. If there is no point chasing money and fame and ruining your health in the process. So CPR, like what Dr. Mehta said, is important once the heart attack occurs. But to prevent heart attack, all these issues should be looked into, and I have the nutrients. So it is important to eat a lot of raw food so that you get all the nutrients required, so that your health, your body receives all the inputs it requires.
Dr. Rao, what would be, beg your pardon, Dr. Kakkar, what would be preventive steps that you would advise?
Muted.
Dr. Kakkar?
Yes, please. Yeah. So, see, the first for me is that if you are living in a sedentary lifestyle, you need to get out of it, and you need to gradually move towards walking every day, and do not try to push yourself. Now, however, if you look at the people who are passing away, most of them were fit people. Now, when they were fit people, again, what were they doing? They were pushing too much that they should have avoided. And that is where, if you would look at Siddharth, or if you would look at this young girl, you would see that their age was around 40, 42, because this is a changing point, a time in our life, biologically also, physically also, when our expectations are too high from ourselves. So we, for example, very recently, I have a friend who ran almost 42 kilometers, and she's 53-year-old. And obviously she was very happy about it. But the point here is that do not push yourself too much. You need to understand your capacity. You need to be sensitive to your surroundings, and how much your body can take, how much your body can give. And then you need to strategically see how it is. Secondly, do not follow what people are saying on YouTube, because you cannot have a blanket cover for everyone, or you cannot generalize everything that these are the things, these are the steps that you have to do. Now, even your 10,000 steps doing itself is quite fake, which not many people would know, because it was accidentally. It has no scientific reason behind it. But normally, if you would say, is that people would start pushing themselves toward the 10,000 steps I have to do. If a person is aging, if you cannot do it, move slowly. Don't be in a rush that it cost you your life. And I think that is what people need to understand. Thirdly, do not compete with your friends. If someone has a better metabolism, or if somebody has a better stamina than you, it has developed over a period of time. You don't try to match them if you have started later. So I think one needs to be very mature in when one starts handling one's own health, because be it biological, be it mental, you should know what your capabilities and capacities are, because every individual, every human being is unique. And unless and until we don't appreciate that, we should not compete with each other. Just compete, understand your body, understand your mind, and then act accordingly.
Absolutely. This, of course, is something that people should know. Or also, people should not be shy about issues like mental illness and anxiety, isn't it, Dr. Kakkar? Depression, anxiety, these are things that should be normalized. People should not shun away from such things, isn't it?
Yes, this should not be a stigma anymore. It is, see, anxiety, depression is something like people, they come out of and they get into it like you have your viral fevers. It has become, it is like fever. Now, fever also one may have in 3, 4, 5 years. So you will have momentarily, you will have fleeting emotions. You can have emotions which will stay with you for a longer period of time. But one needs to take a professional help instead of thinking that it will go away on its own. Even when you fall ill, one has to take medication. If you have a headache, you have to take medication. Similarly, it should not be a stigma anymore, and the family members should also be supportive. What happens is, normally family people, they start rebuking or they start ignoring that person, or they start kind of giving all kinds of adjectives to that person, and that is where it becomes even more bad for the person.
Okay.
Secondly,
Okay.
we are in
We
a
can
world
also
of
see.
competition.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. We can also see, of course, visuals now of other colleagues of Shefali on Bigg Boss 13, Vikas Gupta, Aarti Singh. They're also, of course, at the funeral of Shefali Jariwala. And of course, friends and family continue to be there as well. Extremely emotional scenes coming in from Mumbai. Tragic demise of this young star. There you can see Aarti Singh, who of course also was on Bigg Boss 13 with Shefali Jariwala, looking very, very emotional as well.
बॉस में जब मैं बीमार रहता था तो बस मेरे साथ मेरी सेवा करती थी। फिर यहाँ पे रक्षाबंधन में बहुत खुश रहती थी मेरे साथ, बहुत खुश। उसको मैं सरप्राइज़ देता था, उसके लिए गिफ्ट लाता था। बहुत यानी उसकी यादें बहुत सारी है, जिसके वजह से ये आंखों में आंसू आ जाते हैं ना, ऐसा है। बहुत प्यारी बच्ची थी मेरी। हर किसी की अपनी अपनी सोच होती है ना। बस उनके लिए यही बोलूँगा कि उनके लिए अच्छा प्रार्थना करो भगवान से, क्योंकि किसी का अभी टाइम बोल के नहीं आता है, कौन कब चला जाएगा। वो राजा हो या फ़कीर हो, जाना तो है, उसके मर्जी के सिवा कुछ नहीं होता है ना। जो होगा वो बस उसको जो अच्छा था अभी तक की उसकी जर्नी यही तक थी, इसका मतलब ऊपर वाला जाने अभी क्या होगा।
Shefali Jariwala due to cardiac arrest. She was just 42 years old. There's no age to go. A very good human being, a brilliant actress, and a great loss to the industry. I, on behalf of the Directors Association, IMPA, and Federation of Western India Senior Employees pay my respect and tributes, my condolences to the family of Shefali, her husband, and to all the near ones. It's really a great loss to the industry. An actress who rose up to the stage of success, a person who worked very hard and really became a star in the industry, made her own mark in the industry, and her presence in the industry was brilliant. It's really a very tragic loss. You rose up early in the morning, you wake up and get to listen to this tragedy. Is really sad. We all are with the family. We all are there with the family to face this tragic, this tragedy, whatever has occurred in the family.
भैया मैं शेफाली जी को नहीं देखा, उसके गाड़ी गई है, मैंने गेट खोल दिया। वही 10 सवा 10 बजे।
अच्छा, हाँ। क्या हुआ तो कुछ पता चल पाया उनको?
मुझे कुछ पता नहीं, इस चीज का कंफर्म नहीं है मुझे तो 1 बजे रात में पता चला, ये कोई आदमी बोला कि शेफाली जी डेथ कर गए। तब वो भी मैं विश्वास नहीं किया था, क्योंकि मैं तो अच्छा भला देख रहा था उसको रोज। तो उसने मोबाइल से फोटो दिखाया कि देखो शेफाली जी शायद डेथ कर गए। था उसका कोई यार दोस्त, कोई इधर से आया था मोटरसाइकिल से, तो वो दिखाया था कि वो डेथ कर गए हैं शेफाली जी। तो मैं बोला देखो मुझे तो कंफर्म नहीं है इस चीज का, लेकिन आपको कंफर्म करना है तो जाओ ऊपर जाकर पता कर लो।
कितने साल से यहाँ रह रहे थे शेफाली जी?
तो बोला नहीं अब मैं ऊपर नहीं जाऊंगा, मैं हॉस्पिटल जा रहा हूँ। अच्छा। वो चले गए हॉस्पिटल।
तो यहाँ पे कौन कौन है? कौन कौन है यहाँ पे?
कौन सी का?
घर में कौन कौन है?
नहीं मैं नहीं बता सकता हूँ।
पुलिस है यहाँ पे?
अब पुलिस है कि नहीं है ये मैं नहीं बता सकता।
उनके घर में कौन कौन रहता था?
मैं बताया ना कि मुझे कोई कंफर्म ही नहीं है इस चीज का।
परिवार में कौन कौन आपने उनको कभी घूमते देखा था यहाँ पे नीचे टहलते हुए?
हाँ तो टहलते रहते हैं, आते रहते हैं, जाते रहते हैं, टहलते रहते हैं। परसों देखा था।
किस हालत, किसके साथ थे वहाँ पे?
दोनों मियाँ बीवी थे।
अच्छा, कभी आपने उनकी बातचीत हुई है?
नहीं मैं बात नहीं करता किसी से।
उनका व्यवहार किस प्रकार से था?
बहुत अच्छा, किसी को नहीं टोकती थी, नहीं रोकती थी, बस बहुत अच्छा अपना आया, अपना काम किया गया, घूम फिर लिया, अपना गया। अच्छा व्यवहार का, बहुत अच्छा आदमी थे।
आप यहाँ पे कितने साल से काम कर रहे हैं?
मुझे तो 3 साल होने वाला है।
यहाँ पे कितने साल से रह रही, कभी आपने
नहीं ये मुझे किसी चीज का जानकारी नहीं लेना है किसी से। मैं सिर्फ अपना ड्यूटी से मतलब रखता हूँ, बस अपना ड्यूटी बस। हाँ, और मैं किसी के बारे में कुछ जानता नहीं हूँ, बस मुझे इतना पता है कि मुझे अपना ड्यूटी करना है।
कितने बजे गई? और
वही 10:30 बजे, सवा 10 बजे।
और गाड़ी में कौन कौन था उसने?
देखा नहीं।
आपने गेट खोला तो आपने देखा?
नहीं देखा,
काफी
काला शीशा है।
अच्छा, काफी हड़बड़ी में थे लोग सब?
हाँ हड़बड़ी में थे, चले गए।
अच्छा, कुछ पता चल पाया था क्या हुआ था, कहाँ लेके जा रहे थे?
नहीं।
अच्छा,
यहाँ तो 100 गाड़ी निकलता है रात को, तो मैं किस को कंफर्म करूँ भाई किसका कौन गाड़ी कहाँ जा रहा है, नहीं जा रहा है? मुझे इससे तो कोई मतलब नहीं है। हाँ, इससे मुझे कोई मतलब
कौन कौन रहता है कुछ
नहीं, ये भी नहीं मैं बता सकता।
अच्छा, ये भी नहीं मालूम।
इसका बिल्डिंग कौन सा नंबर का वो भी नहीं बता सकता मैं।
अच्छा, सिर्फ आप यहाँ पे वॉचमैन का काम करते हैं?
सिर्फ मैं वॉचमैन का, गेट से है मेरा, गेट खोलना है, गेट लगाना है, बस इतना ही काम है मेरा।
उनकी कभी तबीयत खराब हुई थी बीच में हाल ही में? आपने कभी, अगर आप बोल रहे टहलते हो आपने देखा था, कभी बीच में उनकी तबीयत खराब?
ये नहीं बता सकता, लेकिन मैं टहलते हुआ परसों देखा था।
परसों देखे थे? और आखिरी बार कल कब देखी?
कल तो देखिए नहीं, मैं तो 8 बजे रात में आता हूँ ड्यूटी।
अच्छा, रात में रहते थे?
मेरा नेट ड्यूटी है, 8 बजे आता हूँ, सुबह 8 बजने वाला है, मैं चला जाऊंगा। ओके।
आपका नाम?
शत्रुघ्न
पूरा नाम?
शत्रुघ्न महतो है।